Your Excellencies, Madam First Ladies, honored guests, fellow women leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Annyeonghaseyo, konnichiwa. Welcome to the International Leadership Conference, ILC 2020. This session is co-organized by the Universal Peace Federation, Japan, Korea, and the Asia Pacific. This special session of the International Association of First Ladies for Peace is organized under the auspices of International Summit Council for Peace with the support of Women's Federation for World Peace International. I'm Barlaan, IVP for Asia of Women's Federation for World Peace International. It is my great honor to be your moderator for this session on the topic, Perspectives from First Ladies and Women Leaders, focusing on the theme, Women's Leadership at a Time of Global Crisis. We're virtually gathered again here today to strengthen our resolve in building a world of peace alongside men and establish an interdependent, mutually prosperous and peaceful Asia-Pacific Union powered by the heart of mothers. Amidst the dark shadow of COVID-19 pandemic, the First Ladies and women leaders of Asia-Pacific take bold and visionary steps to work on realistic solutions that will lead us to sustainable cooperation towards a unified, mutually prosperous, and peaceful Asia-Pacific community of nations under God. To start, may I invite everyone to watch this short video of the high-level session and inauguration of IAFLP at the World Summit 2020 in Seoul, Korea.
One year after its creation, the first General Assembly of the ISPC took place at the 2020 World Summit and had for theme the realization of an ideal world of peace centered on coexistent mutual prosperity and universal values. It brought together nearly 7,000 high-ranking personalities from 171 countries, including 120 former and current heads of state and government. The former Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, delivered the welcoming address. Several heads of state and government then highlighted the vision of the ISPC through speeches.
I'd like to thank and extend my special gratitude to Dr. Hak Ja-han for hosting this summit and commend her long-standing commitment to peace and reconciliation.
Por eso me permito felicitar a los fundadores de la UPF, porque están haciendo lo que otros solo hablan.
The Mother of Peace encouraged participants to place God at the center of everything and called for the realization of peace in the world.
우리는 하늘 부모님 앞에 참 효자, 효녀, 충신이 되는 길을 가야 할 것입니다.
In addition, First Ladies from several countries came together with the same heart and determination as their husbands. Thanks to the IACP, in December 2019, the Republic of Palau successfully organized the Asia-Pacific First Ladies Summit, which brought together 80 women leaders, including 20 First Ladies. These ladies launched the International Association of First Ladies for Peace in order to solve, with a mother's heart, the fundamental problems of the world and thus spread the women's peace movement.
We must look into ourselves, draw upon that value, and work together as women traditionally would to create solutions to challenge the threat that our families are facing in our homes and our nations. Let's take this opportunity to build strong relationship and partnership for our future and for the future of our children.
The Mother of Peace is determined to achieve a world of harmony and peace with a motherly love.
Yes.
Accompanied by the Association of First Ladies, they will broaden the horizon of a world of peace through close collaboration with the IAFLPP.
That was really beautiful. I'd like to recognize the presence of the UPF International Chairman, Honorable Dhakal, and hello, Honorable Dhakal, welcome. Hello, and I'd like to also recognize the presence of the Women's Federation International President, Dr. Julia Moon. Thank you for being with us here in the live. To start, it is my great honor to introduce to you our first speaker to deliver us the opening remarks. Dr. Julia Moon, President of the Federation for World Peace International. Dr. Julia Moon is the president of the HJ Korean Cultural Foundation, Director General of the Universal Ballet, Vice Chairwoman of Sunhak Educational Foundation, and Chairwoman of volunteer organization EWON. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Julia Moon for her opening remarks.
Welcome everyone to the IAFLP session of this virtual International Leaders Conference. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here with all of you today, members of this prestigious panel, including current and former First Ladies, prominent women leaders, as well as many friends and colleagues from the Asia-Pacific region. Women's Federation for World Peace International and I are truly honored to be working together with Universal Peace Federation to develop the International Association of First Ladies for Peace. The founders of UPF and WFWP, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, who many affectionately call Father and Mother Moon, worked together for 50 years with the single-minded purpose of building a world of lasting peace. This year of 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the birth of Father Moon, as well as the 8th anniversary of his passing. Though it was a deeply sad day in 2012 when he passed away, it was also a time of personal commitment for Mother Moon. Since his passing, Mother Moon has unflinchingly shouldered the burden of bringing to fruition all the seeds that were planted with her husband as they established organizations in every field of human endeavor. As part of the International Summit Council for Peace, this IAFLP session builds on the successes of the Asia-Pacific inaugural event held in Palau, as well as the world-level inauguration in South Korea earlier this year. This initiative, led by First Ladies, civil society, and the private sector, proposes that women leaders from all national, racial, and religious backgrounds and all sectors of society unite in solidarity to respond to today's challenges for the sake of providing a life of dignity for all people and a world of enduring peace. We are now experiencing and living in a time of global crisis due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The coronavirus is teaching us that we are not separate from each other. Never before has it been more evident and clear that interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, as articulated in the founding vision of the Universal Peace Federation, are no longer a choice, but the only way forward if we want to overcome this pandemic and the many threats that we as a human race face today. In addition to the worldwide coronavirus and the recent increase of natural disasters around the world, Mother Moon is also deeply concerned about the situation on the Korean Peninsula. Due to Korea's geopolitical situation, a peaceful unification of North and South Korea is crucial, not only for stability in the region, but also for the world as a whole. Especially in such trying times, the cooperation between government and civil society is indispensable for creating social harmony and economic sustainability. This is why Mother Moon is proposing the establishment of the Asia-Pacific Union. The proposed Asia-Pacific Union will be a broad-based, independent, non-political body that draws together like-minded individuals and organizations from among the community of Asia-Pacific nations. This union will draw on the region's common cultural values, such as filial piety, family, and faith, to seek answers to the critical challenges of the region. As a daughter-in-law of Mother Moon, I can truly testify to her inspiring leadership as a woman, soft yet strong. As a leader, she does not compete with men or try to stand out, but leads with selfless love, service, and sacrifice. The past few years, she has traveled the world, bringing together leaders of nations with the message that we as a human race must address the root cause of the problems of the world and understand that these problems cannot be solved by human effort alone. In the recent peace rally held last month, Mother Moon reminded us, the Creator is our parent. Throughout history, countless ages of humanity have failed to recognize God as the heavenly parent and have failed in their filial duty as God's children. We speak of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, the realization of a unified community of humanity under God, the heavenly parent. As long as heavenly parent remains the center of any community, family, or society, any problem can be solved. This time of pandemic and quarantine provides us with a silver lining, the opportunity to reevaluate our ways of relating, challenge old habits, and focus on what is truly essential in life. As women of influence, let us follow Mother Moon's leadership. Let us each find our internal compass, our true north, our vertical connection to God. And by doing so, let's heal our hearts and the hearts of others, celebrate our strengths, and let us work together with our brothers, husbands, and sons to build a better world. I know we will gain greater insight from one another today and share forward-looking and hopeful ideas and projects for the sake of a better future. I would like to close with one final quote from Mother Moon's recently published memoir. Upon the foundation of women's maternal love and affection, the world of the future can be a world of reconciliation and peace. The time has come for the power of women to save the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Julia Moon, for that deeply inspiring remarks. Next, for the first of our keynote speakers is the one inspiring trailblazer who paved the way for the establishment of IAFLP. Madam Debbie M. Remengesau, the First Lady of the Republic of Palau, is the wife of President Tame A. Remengesau Jr., Republic of Palau. Through her chairmanship of the Palau Legacy Project, she launched the Palau Pledge, a world-first environmental protection initiative promoting environmental responsibility. She hosted the Asia-Pacific First Lady Summit 2019 and the launching of the International Association of First Ladies for Peace in Palau. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Madame Debbie Remengesau.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Ali, it is my great pleasure to address you today to continue the work of the International Association of First Ladies for Peace that we launched last year in my home, the Republic of Palau, as we all continue working closely with the Universal Peace Federation in achieving our mutual aspirations. Before I continue, I would like to take a moment to reflect upon the life of Dr. Sun Myung Moon, who passed away on September 3, 2012. Let's continue to work together to achieve what he long envisioned for the world and celebrate his legacy on the 8th anniversary of his passing by promoting peace and prosperity in our communities. So much has changed since we met in Palau and in South Korea this February. With the emergence of COVID-19, our world is facing one of the biggest health crises in our history. The pandemic has affected everyone in all corners of our planet. In Palau, we thankfully remain one of the few nations that are COVID-free. But to achieve this, we had to pay a high price, closing our borders to visitors and putting our tourism-based economy on hold. This has huge ramifications for every Palauan. But we know it's necessary to keep our people safe at this time. COVID-19 has shown how fragile and interconnected our world is. I have said before that our environment connects us all, and the environmental risks posed to our planet are the biggest risk to peace, unity, and prosperity of our time. COVID-19 has presented enormous challenges for our global health system and economies. But there have been some positive. With less human activity, our precious environment has started to show signs of recovery. But we still have the same infrastructure in place, the same cars, the same industries, the same habits. So as the world takes pause during lockdown, Palau is urging governments and people to use this time to reassess how we do things, to build back blue for our ocean and build back green for our environment. We need to put our minds together to create a new future. We have the opportunity now, and we need to take it. We need a lot more awareness, education, and investment in environmental solutions. Nature is resilient, but needs to be given a chance. And we need to come together to give nature that chance, to help our precious Mother Earth heal. I believe our International Association of First Ladies for Peace network and the larger UPF network is an important role to play in this. And not just to tackle environmental challenges, but to also take control of the pandemic, to resume some sense of normalcy, and perhaps even address some of the world's biggest challenges. And maybe then peace will be realized. And so we must look into ourselves, draw upon the value, and work together as women traditionally would and as leaders, and to create solutions to challenges that threaten our families, our homes, and our world. Despite the challenges COVID-19 poses, our work must continue. In this new decade, we must step into our roles and lead by example. We must create new tangible solutions to support the stability and peace in our communities. So today, on behalf of the children of the Pacific, I would like to thank you for your work and for your efforts. Remember that together, we have much potential to create positive change, one step at a time. I have faith that through our efforts, we will create the kind of world that will sustain our children and those that follows them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam First Lady Debbie Remengesau, for that inspiring address. Our next keynote speaker is Madam Diann Mendiola Tudela Torres, First Lady, Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Island. First Lady Diann Tudela Torres is the wife of Honorable Governor Ralph de Leon Guerrero Torres. She was an educator under the CNMI's public school system for 13 years. She spearheaded the Teacher Academy Program and Future Educators Association. She established the nonprofit organization Lady Diann Torres Foundation, which aims to finance programs focused on special needs and language and literacy. Please help me welcome Madam Diann Mendiola Tudela Torres.
Greetings. It is with great honor to have been invited yet again to partake in peace talks with members and stakeholders of this fine organization, the Universal Peace Federation. Ladies and gentlemen, Hafade and Tito, there is much truth to the topic we discussed today, the opportunity and hope at a time of global crisis. Because indeed, opportunities exist in any situation. And if we could learn something from history, it is that there is a balance between our triumphs and our tribulations. And in our triumphs, we will always find our beacon of hope. The world is struggling during these turbulent times, but it is up to us as a human race to stop this destructive and dangerous plague dead on its tracks. One life is too many, but as of today, sadly, we have accounted for roughly 26 million cases from this coronavirus pandemic worldwide, making it the most dangerous and most crippling modern day threat to civilization. So how do we find opportunities during such dark days? How can we change the tide that continue to test humanity? We have to take the steady approach in encouraging hope and continue guiding our loved ones, neighbors, members of our community to use this as a chance and an opportunity to strengthen our weakness, to find gains in our losses, to seek virtues in our shortcomings, and to find ways to rise from this fall. As the CNMI's First Lady, since day one of this outbreak, my mission is about spreading hope. Through my organization, the Lady Diann Torres Foundation, I have taken the initiative to work collaboratively with members of our community, other nonprofits, and of course, one of my biggest supporters, my loving husband, and the Honorable Governor Ralph Dilonga Torres, Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, and Second Lady Walla, and the entire team, to ensure that together we build the program Project Kaligi, Canvas of Hope, encouraging our local artists to use our once fallen power poles to create art that spreads hope and love throughout our islands. As we celebrate 5 years, my foundation is donating monies to other nonprofits to help keep their individual programs running, as we all have unique ways in reaching out and building goodwill support for those most in need. And I will not stop. I will not allow such crisis to crush our dreams of a thriving Commonwealth and a people who's overcome challenging times these past couple of years with the passage of Super Typhoon U2 and Sodalor, which we are still recovering from. In our battle against this invisible enemy, we must believe that we have strength in numbers. This pandemic is a threat to the entire planet and of humanity. We must welcome all ideas and expertise that would present the best solutions in our fight against this virus. We must share our resources with the most vulnerable. We need to trust the experts and cooperate as best we could to help curb the spread. In the not so distant future, we will eventually entertain a viable vaccine that we should embrace with open arms, and God willing, in the coming months and years, our hope for normalcy will be realized. This pandemic is our reminder that life on earth is temporary, and there is a higher power we turn to for guidance in times of despair, and that through the virtues and good news of our Heavenly Father, we can assume there will be light at the end of this tunnel, because without a doubt, there will be. I leave you with this Bible verse from Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. To everyone tuning in, thank you for having me. And don't forget that it is hope that we can count on during our most challenging times. So never stop hoping and believe that we will come out of this stronger and better. Si Zeus Maasi, Giliso, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Madame Diann Mendiola Tudela Torres, for that inspiring address. Our next keynote speaker is Madame Adi Koila Mara Nailatikau, First Lady of the Republic of Fiji, 2009 to 2015. First Lady Adi Koila Mara Nailatikau is the wife of Ratu Epeli Nailatikau, the President of Republic of Fiji from 2009 to 2015. She is a Fijian lawyer who has served as a diplomat and politician. She was elected to the House of Representatives in 1999 as a candidate of the Christian Democratic Alliance. She played an active role as chairperson of the Senate Privileges Committee and as a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Please help me welcome Madame Adi Koila Mara Nailatikau.
Madam Moon, distinguished guests, fellow speakers, and first ladies, present and former. It goes without saying that we are all living in unprecedented times. This global pandemic has affected every country. Even those without cases have had indirect effects to their national economies and well-being of their citizens. In Fiji, we have had 32 cases of COVID-19. Of the beginning of this week, 24 have recovered, 6 were said to be active, and we have lost 2 dear lives to this pandemic. Within the Universal Peace Federation family, suffer an even greater number of lost lives the world over. With loss of freedoms, work, connectivity, and interaction, the devastating indirect consequences of this COVID-19 pandemic will continue even after an antivirus has been found. The numbers of fatalities of patients with long-term illnesses and diseases, accidents and sicknesses not related to the virus continue to rise as the focus of the medical world is trained on defeating this pandemic. There is less awareness, resources, and medication to assist other medical conditions. Developing countries are on the front line of this, as they are already vulnerable to issues caused by conflict and climate change. Issues of food and water security, homelessness, and forced migration, increase in poverty, crime and violence are all issues that have become exacerbated with the added stress of the global pandemic. Likewise, the minority groups, and in particular women and children, are left further vulnerable in these times. In the Pacific region, the majority of our island nations rely on aid and tourism annually to support our national economies. With borders closing down as early as March and having stayed as such until today, job loss across Fiji and the Pacific has gone into the hundreds of thousands. A large portion of our aid was mainly for climate change relief, adaptation, and mitigation for our islands, as climate change impacts have become severe year after year, with a major cyclone occurring nearly every year for the last decade. Now, with the added stress of COVID-19, we are forced to portion this aid to also go to COVID relief packages, adaptation, border control, and precautionary measures. September the 10th that has just passed and upcoming October the 10th are International Awareness Days for Suicide Awareness and Prevention and Mental Health Day, respectively. The need for focus on these days becomes more essential and somber during these times. Isolation, quarantine, global lockdown, and subsequent economic turmoil have seen increased cases of anxiety, alcoholism, and depression that in some cases has unfortunately led to self-harm and suicide. The teachings of Reverend and Madam Moon focus on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universally shared values, seeing a family of mixed nations under one belief of a better, united, and peaceful world. This year, more than any other year, is a time to embrace these teachings. The smallest act of kindness to a brother, a sister, stranger will go further in these times than any other time. Part of the Suicide Prevention Day slogans is 3 words of 8 letters, and I quote, "Are you okay?" unquote. So simple, but could make all the difference of someone choosing life over death. These are hard times, but hard times will be overcome. I myself have found solace in a short passage of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This year, my family and myself have had our faith tested over and over again, from the untimely death of my dear brother and sister and close relatives, as well as economic struggles of our people. Faith is the one thing we have held on to. The ability to see beyond the high tides, rapids, and rough waters, and know that beyond them breaks a sea of calmness and serenity. Max Ehrman, an American poet, wrote a beautiful piece during the last Great Depression post-World War I, which is possibly a time in history quite similar to what we are facing now. His piece was Desiderata, and the last paragraph reads, "And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy." Choosing to keep faith and see the positive opportunity in all the gloom that exists now is what may be the turn of the tide for many of us. For many of the hotel and airline workers in Fiji who lost their jobs earlier this year, a majority have led by example and seized the opportunity to return to their villages and agriculture to support their families and livelihoods. This has seen a revival in a communal way of interdependency and a more sustainable way of life with one another and the environment. As Indigenous Fijians and Pacific Islanders, we were raised with the environment and always taught that it was one with us. Our folklore refers to the ocean as our mother and the land as our birth roots and identity in life that are our sources of mana, heritage, life, meaning, and solace. Our land, geography, and climate in the South Pacific account for these aspects of our culture. They have dictated our group structure and interdependency that in short sees that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. For example, we are surrounded by the sea and look to it for much of our diet. Therefore, our group drive is an excellent way to catch fish because large quantities of fish cannot be stored. They must be distributed and shared early. Our climate is generally benign and contribute to our soils being fertile, enabling us to grow sufficient for our subsistence needs. The same climate, though, which produces food so richly, also causes its rapid decomposition and has meant it must be quickly used and shared. We are subject to extreme weather conditions and our homes can be devastated. A man cannot build a house on his own and will often call upon neighbors, relatives, and friends to assist in exchange for a good or service. This creates reciprocal obligations and the distribution and barter center is established. The wisdom of our ancient systems of sustainable environmental resource management has always promoted a harmony between mankind as well as between man and the environment. During these uncertain times, many Fijians, indigenous Fijians, are reviving these ancient sanctions, taboos, and protocols, and utilizing them in addressing climate change impacts on a national scale. On a global scale, the rapid global response to the COVID-19 pandemic has brought many truths to light, and one of them being rapid and far-reaching transitions to battle climate change are indeed possible. In 2015, the United Nations Framework on Climate Change, the 23rd Conference of the Parties' Negotiations for the Paris Agreement, were unable to suppress travel and shipping globally despite their huge contributions to carbon emissions. Even with the grave future threat of what would happen if we collectively did not keep global warming under 1.5 degrees looming on them, governments could not halt or minimize their energy usage across the board to a realistic level that would effectively and swiftly lower their emissions. However, with COVID-19, governments across the world were forced by the proximate threat in front of them to halt economies, enforce lockdowns, and spend trillions. As a Fijian, an indigenous Fijian, and a Pacific Islander, this gives me hope for my country and people for the future of fighting the changing climate. Moreover, the community-driven initiatives resulting from families spending more time together has been a light at the end of the tunnel. And with the abundance of innovation that has come out of our lockdowns, I'm truly optimistic and betting on our future generations to lead us to a better, more peaceful world. I do hope that we will all be able to meet again once borders open. I hope that we all keep faith in ourselves and in each other during these hard times and continue to reach out to one another, whether it be a kind word or gesture. Until then, I leave you with an extract of a poem written by Mr. Thomas Roberts titled The Great Realization, and of which I hope you find some comfort and truth in these words as I did. But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away. But while we were all hidden amidst the fear and all the while, the people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you and calling up their mums. And while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe, and the beaches bore new wildlife that scuttled off into the seas. Some people started dancing, some were singing, some were baking. We had grown so used to bad news, but some good news was in the making. And so when we found the cure and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found to the one we'd left behind. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new. And every simple act of kindness was now given its due. But why did it take us so long to bring the people back together? Well, sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Vinaka Vakalevu, Kamsamida, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Adi Koila, Mara Nailatikau, for your heartwarming and informative address. Our next keynote speaker is Honorable Sujata Koirala, Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal from 2009 to 2011. Honorable Sujata Koirala is a Nepalese politician and the only daughter of former Prime Minister Gurjija Prasad Koirala. She is the immediate Chief of the International Relations Department of Nepali Congress and a member of the Central Working Committee. She also served as Minister of Foreign Affairs of Nepal, a three-time cabinet minister of the government of Nepal from 2007 to 2014, 2014 to 2017, and 2017 to 2021. Please help me welcome Honorable Sujata Koirala.
Dear Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests and speakers, first of all, I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude for the warm invitation to speak at the International Leadership Conference webinar. At a time when people's lives and physical moments are significantly compromised, such as initiatives like this keep us connected and unified. As the entire world sweats profusely to contain the spread of the coronavirus, the role of effective leadership has been brought into razor-sharp focus around the globe, and I applaud Mother Moon and the Universal Peace Federation for bringing out this topic for discussion at such a relevant time. We all know that women are on the receiving end of the hardest blow by the current pandemic. A big percentage of health workers are women, which places them in the front lines of the current crisis. While 70% of the world's health care staff is made up of women, only 25% of leaders in the world are women. Although this is the state of women amidst the pandemic, women have not neglected their roles in the society and are still showing resilience in all walks of life. The world did not need a pandemic to realize that people are generally better off when their leaders are smart, honest, and modest. But now that we head on with this global crisis, it is apparent that the challenges of the 21st century call for a new type of leadership different from the based on command and control. These challenges include climate change, health, and environment, the depletion of the Earth's resources, the development of new technologies, to name a few. As such, this new type of leadership primarily involves resilience, courage, flexibility, listening, empathizing, collaboration, caring, and recognition of collective contribution. The participation of everyone's intelligence becomes the key to success. And these are all characteristics of traditionally feminine management. During a crisis, displaying empathy can foster trust, loyalty, and motivate people to take their leaders more seriously. It is not secret that combining empathy with quick action is precisely what successful leaders of various nations have done in response to the current pandemic. And as a woman myself, I am profoundly proud to say that it is no coincidence that most of the countries that have managed the COVID-19 crisis effectively are led by female leaders. COVID-19 showed us that even the leadership team of developed countries can fail to deliver. In an impending crisis, we need a diverse set of leaders for a better direction. Therefore, by bringing to the force the untapped reservoir of women leadership in all spheres of life, we will be more resilient and better positioned to tackle future crises. Women are a symbol of motherly love, kindness, compassion, and integrity. And these are the virtues that are highly required in a leadership in tackling a crisis of this proportion. To that end, through this esteemed forum, I urged world leaders and decision makers to ensure gender is integrated in national and subnational COVID-19 response plans, not only to achieve better outcomes for women and girls, but also to achieve better outcomes for the whole of humanity. Once again, I thank Mother Moon and the Universal Peace Federation for having me on this global stage and allowing me to express my solidarity in their quest for a better world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sujata Koirala, for your inspiring address. Next, I would like to introduce our next speaker. She is Professor Mieko Ikegame, former director of UN's Office Under Secretary General of Japan. Professor Mieko Ikegame is one of the first Japanese women employed as international civil servant by the United Nations system. In 2006, she was nominated as one of the most influential Japanese women in the world by the Newsweek, Japan. Since she joined the UN system in 1980, she has held a number of key positions in the United Nations Secretariat, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, FAO, and the World Food Program, WFP. Let us warmly welcome Professor Mieko Ikegame.
Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to join to this crowd of the very distinguished ladies. And I am the only person who is not in the government, but I am very pleased to be here to hear the determinism of the ladies and the government leaders to serve for the world and for the country under this very, very difficult time of the world. Since I do not have the written statement, my live speech will be based on my experience as an international civil servant in the United Nations and not really as a Japanese as such. But let me start with quickly, what is the role of Japan in the international cooperation? Firstly, Japan joined the United Nations in 1956, and the development cooperation for Asia and the Pacific was the priority of the government. Of course, its relations with those countries goes back centuries, since Japan is a part of the region. When Japan joined to the United Nations, Japan was almost like developing countries. Its contribution to the United Nations and the World ODA was less than 1%. But soon in 1970s, Japan became a second contributor to the United Nations and the ODA in the world. Japan has been seen as a model of economic development with non-Western background and culture. As such, this was a good model for all developing countries, not only Asian region, but also Latin America and Africa. While providing the development cooperation and assistance, Japan was determined for the regional development. It was not meant only for each countries, but assistance should reinforce the mutual dependency among the nations in Asia and the Pacific. Thus, Japan's ODA was focusing on the request of the recipient countries, not imposing the assistance to the countries. It also placed the importance in the investment in human being. That's why Japan's development cooperation focused on the capacity building. And not only that, any technical assistance going to these countries are based on the level of development and the local capability of the people. at the end of the day, the development assistance is to assist the will of the country and the people. Let me then talk about the role of women in international cooperation. When I joined the United Nations, women Japanese were only less than 5% of the entire Japanese civil servants. But when I left United Nations, the percentage has grown up to more than 60%. You can see when the women are given opportunities, they will perform effectively and also demonstrate they can serve and cope with the requirement of the population, not really representing women, but also family, community, nation, and universe. In contrast, Japan remains as a very behind of many of Asian and Asia and Pacific countries, particularly women's participation in decision making. Do you know Rwanda, the small country in Africa, is the #1 in the world where women parliamentarians are more than 63%, when Japan is having only less than 10%. #1, Rwanda, Japan is around 130th. There are a lot for the Japanese leaders to learn from other countries, how to bring women in decision-making process. I have a few examples from United Nations, how women officers can make a difference in development cooperation. For instance, in Bhutan, when the king decided to have the modern education, only boys were sent to the school, whereas women, the girls' participation was very low. At that time, I was working in the World Food Program and requested to give program to help increasing the participation of the children at the school. We have introduced school feeding program, which encouraged the parents to send more children, but mainly boys. So we have to think how we can encourage and give incentives to the parents to send daughters to the schools. Normally, daughters were stayed behind to help household activities. The idea I brought was when the girls are coming to school, not only school feeding, but also she could bring a sack of grain home. So the parents got very much encouraged to send girls. With this assistance, the girls' participation increased by 3 times, whereas boys' participation increased only by 2 times. So there are ways how to change the world and give the more attention to the girls' education. Now, for instance, in Sierra Leone, like any other countries, there are local governments, and men tend to be the actor to make decisions for the community. I was on a mission to Sierra Leone in a village where women has never been got together to make decisions for the village. We asked for the special permission from the leader to gather the women, but with a condition. The chief says women can get together, but with boy or men surrounding around them. So when we asked the question, where do they bring the water from? The women said, well, it's too very far away. It's a lot of work every day. So one of the men raised a hand and says, no, miss. The well is very nearby. It's not such a distance. Of course, there is a difference in perception and experience. For men, it is just to drink the water, never bring in the water on their heads, bring in the child in your hands, and maybe baby in your back. So the facts can differ from men and women. So at the end of the day, we encouraged to consider to build a new well nearby the village. So it is very important that women are part of the decision making. That will benefit the entire community. Also in Pakistan, I was a desk officer for Pakistan. Everybody said, being a woman in a Muslim society, how could I be able to contribute? On the contrary, because all UN team, it is always like myself alone as a woman, I had the privilege to get to know women's life in Pakistan. And the government of Pakistan therefore asked me to make a special report on women. Here again, as being a woman, I could contribute differently and more effectively for the benefit of entire community. The third point I wanted to mention on the role of women is that if you look at the peace movement in the world, you will find out most of the movements are initiated by women. Why? Because women are most affected by war or destruction or global crisis as today. Women has more holistic approach to the reality because she bear the child, think of the children, think of the family, then think of the community. That can extend to the country and finally to the universe. Now I would like to conclude with the third session, which is about the importance of the advancement of the peace culture and peace education, and how we can stimulate the young generation who are the maker for the future of the world. Some president, as you know, will say his country first. If all the country will say his country or her country first, we will never bring the peace to this earth. We have to say first is the earth and the world. Then the country can fit into this. The environment issue and the global issues pointed out by previous speakers requires our attention, and the approach as international citizens, we have to let the youth to know they are responsible for the future, responsible for the world. They have to have consciousness as being international civilians, international citizens. So it is the responsibility of the leader to make education work. Let the education make sure that our next generation will have the global responsibility and conscientiousness of their duties in the world. Let the politicians and the leaders make sure they make the right allocation of resources. Resources for peace, resources for health, basic requirement, and food security, not for military. We are spending too much resources for the military. We have to wake up to see what is most important in human life, because our survival is at the stake without having consideration of universal values. Finally, I would say, act now. Now is the most important moment for the future. And our future depending on the young generation and leadership. Let me conclude with a formal statement that I would like the audience to know. Each country and government has its own unique background in the world history. Every citizen, men and women, especially young generation, must determine what role they should play in the global society. All in all, the future of the world depends on how we shape the world. Leadership, especially by women, is critical and to educate the next generation is vital for the survival of humankind. Peace is a central concept in this challenging world where short-term ambitions tend to dominate over the long-term lasting sustainable development and peace. We must act now, act together. Now is the most important moment for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mieko Ikegame, for your informative, enlightening, and inspiring speech. IAFLP is a new project of UPF under the auspices of the International Summit Council for Peace. This new project is paving a way for the realization and unleashing of a beautiful and powerful idea whose time has come. And to help us get a glimpse of its beautiful beginnings in the Paradise Island nation of Palau, I'd like to invite everyone to watch this short video.
The Palau Islands are home to more than 340 gemstones. Mother Moon sent her special representatives to Palau, Mariana, director of the HD Global Foundation, and Julia Moon, international president of WFWP. Government of Palau co-hosted the opening banquet of the Asia-Pacific Association of First Ladies Summit, which included testimonies to the work and showcased the context of the event.
In the words of Mother Moon, women are called at this time to work alongside men, like the wheels of a great engine, pulling the construction of a peaceful world forward. This statement highlights the harmonious and complementary nature of the masculine and feminine attributes of all things in the creation. Women were not created to be assistants to men, but rather, they are equal companions, joining with men to form as a couple the complete image of God.
Subsequently, the Foreign Minister of Palau and the Chairman of UPF Asia Pacific, Dhakal, delivered welcoming remarks. In addition, Thomas Remengesau, Jr., President of Palau, and 8 First Ladies or former First Ladies from the Asia Pacific region made the banquet even more meaningful.
I am Tami E. Remengesau Jr. But more importantly, I am the spouse of our host. Thank you, Debbie, and your team of wonderful people for organizing this great reception for this historic event.
On December 10th, the Association of the Asia-Pacific First Ladies 2019 Summit opened in the presence of 300 personalities from 36 countries, including the First Lady of Palau and 8 First Ladies or former First Ladies in the Pacific region. The historic summit began with an address by the First Lady of Palau, Debbie Remengesau. WFWP International Chair Dr. Julia Moon read the founder's special message. Dr. Julia Moon sent a special envoy to Palau, shared message on building a model nation in a peaceful, ideal world.
This First Ladies Asia-Pacific Summit is particularly important for the firm establishment of the Asia-Pacific civilization. Palau is the gateway to the Pacific Rim. Centering on women leaders and especially First Ladies, I am confident that through this summit, the cornerstone for the realization of the Pacific civilization centering on Heavenly Parent will be established. Our Father Moon said in his autobiography, "Throughout history, women have been persecuted, but I predict this will change. The coming world will be one of reconciliation and peace based on women's maternal character, love, and sociability. The time is coming when the power of women will save the world. I offer my sincere wish that this summit may become a valuable step that contributes to the settlement of the Pacific civilization centered on Heavenly Parent. And I hope to see the International Association for First Ladies for Peace expand to all the countries of the world so that together, enlightened women and mothers in leadership positions can bring about lasting change and peace for all."
After the reading of the Founders' Address, the First Ladies of Kiribati, Nauru, Papua New Guinea, and the Northern Mariana Island gave speeches. Following the speeches, the participants pledged to resolve fundamental global problems with a mother's heart and passed the resolution of the Association of First Ladies of the Asia Pacific. Several of them received medals awarded by Mother Moon. Furthermore, several discussions took place, addressing the world's current problems with a reference to the role of women leaders and applying cultural wisdom. This was an opportunity to define a new direction for women leaders.
Mother Moon, I'm very grateful for you for this idea. This is great, putting this summit of peace.
Thank you. God bless you, and the work you have done. You've inspired a lot of people, especially us in the Pacific and my nation, the Republic of Nauru. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Representative religious leaders offered prayers, and the President of Palau and his wife assisted all the events, including the summit, in coordination with all the other First Ladies present. UPF President Mendiola presented the President of Palau with the Good Governance Award. Afterwards, those in younger generations, future leaders, met to share a vision of peace and hope. The YSP rally became the finale of the events in Palau.
Thank you. Truly beautiful and inspiring. Next, let us hear special remarks from Mrs. Blessie G. Dhakal, the International Coordinator of the International Association of First Ladies for Peace. Mrs. Dhakal is a Filipino-born turned Nepalese entrepreneur and a woman leader, serving globally. She is married to Nepalese politician Honorable Eknath Dhakal. She is the president of the Women's Federation for World Peace Nepal and served as president of the Nepal-Philippines Chamber of Commerce and Industry, NPCCI, from 2017 to 2019. Let us warmly welcome Mrs. Blessie Dhakal.
Honorable VIPs, global leaders, distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon to all. It is an honor and privilege to be with you today and share my ideas on the topic Women Leadership at a Time of Global Crisis. I am happy to see outstanding women leaders who are doing such a great job in making our lives better and more fulfilled. First, I would like to convey my gratitude to UPF International President Dr. Walsh and his office staff, as well as WFWP International President Dr. Julia Moon and her staff for all the guidance, knowledge extended to us during this virtual International Leadership Conference. It is refreshing to hear so many great ideas from the distinguished guests during our deliberations together. For the past few months, the COVID-19 pandemic has tested our resilience and adaptability to cope both as nations and as individuals. The virus has taken away our mobility, our economic well-being, and our jobs. It has also taken the lives of so many people. As we battle and cope, the countries in the Asia-Pacific region, such as Palau, Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, Nauru, Kiribati, the Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, Samoa, Vanuatu, and Tonga remain COVID-free, with no record cases as confirmed by the World Health Organization. Moreover, Vietnam was praised for its effective response, having no deaths, for being able to maintain a record and no new cases for quite some time. Thailand remains in control of their 3,427 cases, wherein 3,277 have recovered and only 58 have died. These are scenarios we all want to see in all neighboring countries in the region. This is why I can see a vital importance and great potential in creating the Asia-Pacific Union, where nations cooperate together for their mutual well-being, security, and safety. I've been a witness to how diverse and rich we are as a region. I was raised and born in the Southeast Asia and spent half of my life in South Asia. Since the beginning of 2019, I worked in the Pacific Island nation of Palau, which made me realize how many rich resources we have. This perspective of counting our blessings help us to be able to overcome almost any adversity. The concept of a union of Asian nations could be the forefront of creating policies and protecting the interests of the Union and its member nations for the generations to come. It would also enable discussions and exchange of ideas related to how we can better cope with the various situations, especially disasters such as COVID-19 pandemic. Each nation is sovereign, having a unique, rich history and heritage. Just imagine how much more prosperous and peaceful we would be collaborating together. Working together as a region will help create healthier partnership among these nations, which in turn would allow us to expand on tourism and trade opportunities. At times of natural catastrophe, countries can help with urgently needed resources and human expertise. Providing them with the needed aid would become accessible and more efficient. Countries that are performing better can share their methods and solutions, helping other member nations to recuperate, thrive, and prosper. Such a union of Asian nations would become a platform for the partnerships and the sharing of best practices among the neighbor states. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing challenges that call for collective action. Isolation will not take us forward. It's time that we use our diversity as our strength. Our difference can provide opportunities for looking things in new ways and improving our situation. Let's give it a try, because it is time that we address our problems together collectively. There's a great future ahead of us through interregional cooperation. The late Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon declared that a unified world will start in the Asia-Pacific realm. It's now time that we move closer together as a family of Asian nations. The International Association of First Lady for Peace can help create the camaraderie among First Ladies possible, having a better reach and wider scope. Because when empowered women come together, then great ideas emerge. That's why the IAFLP under the Universal Peace Federation is timely and relevant today, more than ever. There's a brighter day ahead of us. Let's continue and even expand our network. Using the heart of a mother's unlimited love, it's imperative that we find solution to today's problem so we can protect our treasure for the future generations to come. I believe in the power of unity and in the power of our ideas. Let's transform our world to become a better place. The Asia-Pacific Union can set a paradigm of cooperation and harmony that others will want to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Dhakal, for your inspiring and visionary remarks. Now we are nearing the end of our session. To give us the concluding remarks, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Moriko Hori, the coordinator of IAFLP Japan. Mrs. Moriko Hori is the president of Women's Federation for World Peace Japan and the vice president and the director of the International Service Projects of Women's Federation for World Peace International. She is responsible for Women's Federation's 110 humanitarian projects in 50 countries, advocating for women empowerment, poverty eradication, AIDS prevention, education, and medical sustenance. She serves as a senior researcher and the board of directors of the Institute for Peace Policies. Mrs. Hori, the floor is yours.
Honorable VIPs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen from all over the world, thank you so much for attending this IAFLP session. Especially, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to the speakers of this session, Dr. Julia Moon, Madame Debbie Remengesau, Madame Diann Mendiola, Tudela, Torres, Madame Adi Koila Mara Nailatikau, Honorable Sujata Koirala, Professor Mieko Ikegame, and Mrs. Blessie Dhakal. I am so grateful for your insightful speeches and your dedication to your countries and people. Your remarks surely bring hopes to the people who are suffering from this global pandemic. As Marley already introduced me, my name is Moriko Hori. I am the coordinator of IAFLP Japan and also the president of WFWP Japan and the director of an international service project of Women's Federation International. As a director of international service projects, I'm responsible for more than 100 humanitarian projects in 50 different developing countries. Our projects aim to empower women and children and give education for them to be independent. More than anything, through education, our projects give hopes for the future. Our founder, Dr. Hector Moon, often expresses WFWP as mother's organization, that all our members do our activities with mother's unconditional love. We strongly believe that a person who has experienced true love can share it with others. In this way, we can bring peace in our communities, nation, and the world. In this global crisis, what we really need is to care and embrace people with love. However, what we can see every day on media is intensifying exclusionism and discrimination. As we realize from today's wonderful, wonderful speeches, women's leadership is needed at difficult time like this. Today, we welcome the current and the former First Ladies and distinguished women leaders. I strongly believe First Ladies and women leaders are the mother figure to their communities and their countries. With the leadership of First Ladies and women leaders, we will bring tremendous changes to our society. Now is the time for women to show what we really need to do for the world. It is women's role to bring peace and harmony to all humankind. Let us not end this wonderful opportunity just as conference, but make this opportunity as actual global movement. This session is being broadcasting not only to Asia Pacific region, but also to other regions. Let's spread our voices and give hopes and strength to win this global crisis. Again, thank you so much, wonderful speakers and staffs, and Dr. Julia Moon and Honorable Eknat Dhakal, Dr. Walsh. Thank you so much for having this great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hori, for your remarks. As for the Q&A part, unfortunately, we have run out of time. We apologize that we could not read the Q&A, the questions at this time. However, we are taking notes of all your questions and will give you answers by email. At this point, we would like to conclude our insightful, wonderful, and inspiring session. We hope that you enjoyed this session. It is our hope that as we combine all our great efforts for peaceful cooperation among all First Ladies and women leaders, we can pave a way for the establishment of an Asia-Pacific Union. We hope to see you again at our next conference, and hopefully it will be in person. On behalf of the organizers of ILC 2020, IAFLP, ISCP, UPF, and WFWP International, we extend our deepest gratitude to our speakers and to everyone for joining us during this session. And I would like to make a few announcements. The next session actually is IMAP, Perspectives from the Media, Opportunity and Hope at the Time of Global Crisis, the Role of Media. It will start at 2 p.m. Bangkok time. I hope to see you all there. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day and God bless you. Thank you.